So I now find myself, former yuppie and city boy, in the rather strange position of being the joint leader of the only opposition group that the European Parliament has really ever had in its entire existence. And I may not be popular amongst the political class, but I couldn't care less. I don't want to be popular amongst those people, these career politicians who care more about themselves when they care about nation states and they care about democracy. But what I do know is that right across our continent there is a growing wave, a growing democratic revolution that is taking place, and it's being led predominantly by your generation. Your generation who can see that if we're going to have successful futures, we must be part of a global economy and not close our minds and believe that Europe is the beginning and the end of everything. A young generation who actually want to be able to determine their own futures through the ballot box. That's the point about democracy, isn't it? In democracy, you don't just vote for your government, but you have the ability, once every 4 or 5 years, to say, you're a cheating, lying, dirty lot of rascals, get thee gone, and I'll put somebody else in with a different manifesto. That's what the young people across Europe are saying, and I think we have a very interesting specimen of this in Finland, right at this moment in time. In Finland, which has been a three-party system, a conservative, socialist and liberal party system, and in Finland, the Eurosceptic party, the True Finns, whose MEP, I'm proud to say is part of our group, are up to 18.5% in the polls and are just 1 point behind the government with 6 weeks to go before the general election. So things are changing across Europe, and is it any wonder when you look at the way we're governed? You know, it was objectionable enough to have a European Commission in day one. But what did the Lisbon Treaty give us? It gave us Herman Van Rompuy. The President of Europe. And it seems that I rather upset him. I did make the point that we've been told that once we'd had a President of Europe, it would be a figure so big and powerful that he would stop the traffic in Beijing and Washington. And I was struck that I didn't really think that Herman Van Rompuy would stop the traffic in Brussels, let alone anywhere else. And so I did say, it's true, that he had the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk. Now, I don't think, as far as political insults go, that was really too heavy. I mean, after all, I've told you what they've been calling me in the Parliament, and that's apparently fine. But oh, goodness me, didn't it cause a bit of a storm? And I was asked for the President of the European Parliament. I went in for a meeting with him, and piece of advice to all of you, when you leave university and you go on and you pursue your careers wherever you go, whenever you're invited to a meeting and the person inviting you doesn't offer you coffee, you're in big trouble, all right? So I went in to meet the President of the European Parliament, and it was very much an interview without coffee. And he said to me, I'm asking you to apologise. I said, oh yes? He said, I want you to apologise to the European Parliament. I want you to apologise to Mr. Herman Van Rompuy, and I want you to apologise to the people of Belgium. And I said, any advance? Was there anything else I must do? You know. So of course I completely refused, but I did the next day, was after some thought, apologise to bank clerks the world over for any offence that I might have caused. But so upset with me were they, that they fined me the maximum fine that the European Parliament can bring in, and they fined me 10 days' pay because I wasn't very nice about Mr. Van Rompuy. And the President of the Parliament said to me, this will never happen again. And I thought, how on earth are they going to stop me? And last week, I had a little exchange with him last week, and there he was in December, shaking hands with, of course, Colonel Gaddafi, the man that is now our enemy, although on reflection, I suppose it was one unelected leader greeting another unelected leader, so perhaps nothing terribly unusual about that. So, and I do admit, I've been a bit of a thorn in their side, but apparently what's really upset them are my comments about Belgium. That's what's really upset them. And the British Foreign Office have said, or said to me at the time, that I'd done a terrible thing, that I'd insulted this great unified nation of Belgium. Well, I think that when we look back at our histories, when we look back at our own lives, often there are things for which we should apologise. And as a British person, I think I should apologise to you all tonight for the artificial creation of Belgium. Back in 1839, shouldn't have done it. I don't know what we were thinking of. Of course, effectively, we really had you as a buffer zone, didn't we? Between the French and the Germans. I mean, that was the thinking of the Brits at the time. And you know, as long ago as 100 years ago, before the First World War, there were senior Belgian politicians saying this place is not a country, it's not a nation. So quite why me saying it has caused such great offence, I don't know. But I do note that I made these comments on the 24th of February last year, that Parliament was dissolved in Belgium at the end of April, and there hasn't been a government since, and it's over 280 days. So I do feel borne out by this. And I have to say, I have to express a slight prejudice of my own. I do think that the Flemish people deserve to have their own independent free state. And if I can do anything to help them get it, I will. But please bear in mind, if and when you get your independent, self-governing, democratic, free state here, what will be the point of it if you're part of a European form of government that already makes over 75% of the laws of the nation states? What will be the point of it? Particularly here, where your success in business through hard work and entrepreneurial flair will be destroyed by the employment regulations, by the Lado regulations, by some of the crackpot regulations on the environment. What will be the point of any of it? What will be the point of democracy if we're all swallowed up by this state? So my job, I feel, is to help lead initially and then link arms right across this European continent with like-minded people. We're not from the right, we're not from the left, we're not from the centre. We come from all walks of life. We believe in democracy. We believe in self-government. We believe in having our own proud nations. I want a Europe that trades together. I want a Europe that works together. I want us to agree, sensible, common minimum standards on things. I want to have reciprocal deals between British universities and German universities. I want to do all of those things that we ought to be doing in the 21st century as next door neighbours. But we cannot have those freedoms and we cannot have our democracy all the while the Van Rompuys and Barrosos are ruling our lives, and the sooner we get rid of them, the better. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm sorry if you feel I wasn't direct enough in that talk, and if anybody doesn't understand what I'm saying, there we are. But I believe in this very, very strongly indeed. You see, I have this feeling that if you take away democracy from people, rather like our friends in Greece at the moment, if the way you vote in the next Greek general election doesn't matter because you can't set interest rates, you can't set tax rates, because the European Central Bank and the unelected bureaucrats and officials in Brussels now run your country, if democracy is taken from you, all you are left with is civil disorder and civil disobedience. And my great fear is that unless we get proper democratic solutions to our future in Europe, that what we will see is a Europe of a whole mass of little mini nasty civil wars. And that's why I feel it is so important, as somebody that's got 4 children, that we fight to get freedom and democracy back.